Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have 3 bean recipes for you that are going to help you stretch your meat to go even farther. All right, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome. Come on in, make yourself comfortable. I am a self-proclaimed budget queen. So if you like to save money, subscribe. Come on over. We'd love to have you. Now, if you're not new here and you watched my New Year's goals video, I had a goal to eat beans every day. I'm happy to report, so far this has not been a challenge for me. I am a bean queen. So I thought I would share these recipes with you though, because a way that I have found to make beans not boring is to mix them into all sorts of things. And of course, grocery prices, they're horrendous, and meat is becoming something that is just kind of out of the budget to have all the time. So I thought I would show you 3 different ways to add beans to your meat to stretch a small amount of meat into a large amount of food without compromising on taste. And even if you're not in it to save a buck, beans are really good for you. So it's a good thing to do all around. It's better for the environment. It's better for your grocery bill. It's better for your colon. So yeah, I guess we're done with this intro. It's long for no reason. Here are the 3 recipes I have for you, and I will leave, of course, all of them down below for you to try yourself as well. So let's get into it. All right, the first meal we're making are these amazing, delicious sloppy joes. All right, to start out, guys, I'm making my own buns. I don't normally go right to homemade buns. However, in the month of January, we really try to use up everything we have. We go through the freezer, we go through the pantry, we try not to buy a ton of new groceries. We try to use up things that we've already got. And today that means I am making my own buns from scratch. And I am using just a very plain, regular, like sandwich loaf recipe. And I'm also using these old peas from the freezer. Nobody really loves peas in the house, but we didn't want them to go to waste, and they've been sitting in there for a very long time. So I'm using them in my rice cooker, just like the steam function. It works really great. And here's the meat we're using. We're using a pound of ground turkey. However, we're only using half of it. So normally for sloppy joes, you'd use 1 pound of ground meat, but we're cutting this in half. And you can use ground beef, you can use ground pork, ground chicken, whatever ground meat you want to use. And we're going to save that other half a pound for another dish we're going to make tomorrow. Our bean of choice, we are using Great Northern beans. These blend really nicely. A white bean is going to give you a very smooth finish. So I drained them and rinsed them, and I'm putting them in my food processor. You could also mash them by hand with like a potato masher. You could use a blender. I'm using my food processor because it just seemed like the easiest thing to do. And basically, we are going to blitz it until it is a paste. Basically, it's going to be the same texture as the ground turkey because like ground meat is pretty much like meat paste if you really think about it. And then we're going to add that to our ground turkey. And we're going to lightly season it, just a little salt, a little pepper, and then we are going to mix it together until it's completely combined. You do not want to be able to really see the difference between the meat and the beans. And the wild part about this, you guys, is this cooks exactly like meat. Like those beans completely behave like meat in a pan. They will brown, they will crumble. You are cooking this exactly the same as if you had just a whole pound of meat in there. It actually really is amazing to me every time I do this, that those beans just integrate themselves right in. Nice little crumbles. Look at that. And now we're actually just following the instructions on the can of sauce, which I did get from Aldi. If you really wanted to do this from scratch, you totally could. However, again, we're using the things we have in the pantry, and that means these cans of Sloppy Joe sauce. And basically, you just mix it in there until it gets hot, couple of minutes. And there you go. This texture was really excellent and very meaty, and I could not believe just how well that combination worked. And now I'm plating it up. Very simple. The buns were kind of small, more like a slider, but that was fine. My peas, which were as good as peas can be, I guess. And because the peas were soft and the sandwich was soft, I needed a little crunch. I'm a texture girl. So I added some pretzels on the side. And this was dinner, and it was delicious. 10 out of 10. Would make again. For our next meal, we're making patty melts with these delicious black bean burgers. This was probably my favorite one I made, and I will definitely be making these burgers all the time. Again, with the homemade bread, you guys. I was not going to go to the store and buy bread when I had the ingredients to make some, so I did make a couple of loaves. And that's why we chose patty melts, just to sort of switch it up from the buns that we had the night before with our sloppy joes. I also am serving this with some French fries that I just cut up some potatoes. I just seasoned them, tossed them with, salt, pepper, smoked paprika, and I roasted them in the oven. That's a really easy side dish that goes well and is very cheap. Again, with the frozen veggies, guys, look at these vegetables. Look at that chunk of icy veggies. It was pretty much like, we got to eat this today or we got to throw it away. And I wasn't going to throw it away. So I blessed my family yet again with a weird freezer burn vegetable. All right, now we are using the other half a pound of that turkey, and we are using this whole can of black beans. I am rinsing them and draining them. This time I did opt to use the potato masher. First of all, I didn't want to have to wash my any other tools besides this. The food processor gives you an extra dish. Well, technically, I guess the masher is an extra dish too. Anyway, I thought I would show you can do this with a potato masher. I do like to leave the beans a little bit textured and not completely smooth. Then I'm adding my meat, half a pound. We've got a teaspoon of salt, like a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, whatever your heart feels like. I do like to add a Worcestershire sauce here because it really increases like the meatiness sort of factor. And then you're going to add 1 egg. However, I raise quail, so I raise quail eggs. And look at this, guys. I caught it on camera. It was a double yolker. Look at that. It's going to be a lucky day, I can tell. So obviously use a chicken egg, and I will leave this, down below for you. But I used, quail eggs. And then you're going to give this a mix. This is going to make 4 like big, hefty, thick burger patties. And here's a trick I like to do. I shape them with my hands, but then I'm going to freeze them for a few minutes. And they don't need to be frozen. You don't need to like meal prep this beforehand. But if they're a little bit cold, a little bit chilled, they're going to hold their shape a little bit better. And it's also worth noting that you could meal prep these and keep them in your freezer and just pull them out as needed, which is also really nice, especially if you're cooking for 1 or 2 and you don't need to use all the patties at once. And you're going to cook these like a regular burger, you guys. It's about 4 minutes on each side. They smell amazing. They're just meaty enough that it gives you the vibe. Just make sure you're temping these out. Obviously, you could use other types of ground meat, but for turkey, you need to make sure you're hitting that 165-degree temperature inside. So just keep that in mind as you're cooking. You want to be safe. But you're just treating this like a regular burger. And it looks, and it smells, and it tastes just like a burger, guys. It's amazing. So I temped it out. Tonight I chose American cheese, and my husband chose pepper jack. As far as decorating these patty melts, we both kind of went in a different direction. My husband chose something we call samurai sauce. It's from France. Every time we travel, we always just go to the grocery store and buy bunches of sauce, and that's how we discovered samurai sauce. So yes, half my suitcase was sauce last time I came back from a trip. So he's got red onion and samurai sauce. It's like a peppery, pimento-y type situation. I chose red onion and barbecue sauce. The kids did not eat these. They were, in fact, at an extracurricular. So the other 2 burgers are in the freezer. But this was perfect. This tasted so good, so beany, so meaty. Serve that with my little wedges and my delicious freezer vegetables. And there we go. My husband was very impressed with this one. This will be on the regular rotation for a while. And lastly, I wanted to make something that wasn't a ground meat, so I decided to make a delicious pasta and sauce. And this was pretty good, you guys. We're using red lentils today. I chose red lentils because they cook really fast. They cook more like pasta. So they're high in protein, high in fiber, all the great things we love from a legume, but they cook really fast. You don't need to soak them. None of that stuff you have to do with like a dry bean. So this is going to make 4 very hefty servings, and we're going to use half of a cup of red lentils. You do want to rinse them. Put them in a pot of boiling water. Well, actually, this water's not boiling yet. You can bring it to a boil once they're in there, or you can wait till it's boiling.
whatever. It takes about 10 minutes. And the meat we're using here is this Polish sausage. This is a turkey sausage. And normally I would use this entire thing to feed the family. However, we're using a quarter of it today, just enough to add that meat texture, that smoky flavor. And we're cutting it up in teeny tiny bites so that we can really stretch this into every serving so that every one gets a little bit. And we're just going to toast it. That's just going to bring out all the flavor. We're going to get another nice little texture. Obviously, we're going to cook this, with pasta and everything. So it's going to be quite soft. So I think adding, that little toasted bit is good on your meat. So those lentils are going to get nice and swollen and soft. Again, about 10 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and drain them and assemble our sauce. I'm using a blender. I'm putting those in. See how the volume got gigantic on those? We love a lentil. I am mixing it with some tomato sauce. This is from my garden. I canned these myself. But you could use tomato sauce just from the store. No worries. You could even just roast some tomatoes and throw the tomatoes in the blender. And then I'm just blending it up till it's smooth. Now you could use this as your sauce. This could be a sauce on its own. However, I really wanted to elevate this. I wanted to prove we could make something really delicious here. So I'm going the extra mile. We're making a cream sauce, but obviously you don't have to do all this. And we're basically making a basic bechamel. So we're starting with a roux, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour. We're going to whisk that together, cook it for a few minutes till it's a little toasted. Then we're going to add 1 cup of milk of your choice. And this is how you make the base for a lot of great cream sauces. Basically, whisk it together and you're going to cook it till it thickens up a little bit. And, you don't want it too thick, but you don't want it watery, kind of like this, And now we are going to add our lentil tomato mixture and stir that in. And at this point, you can really season this to your heart's delight. If you want it to be spicy, add some cayenne in there, add some red pepper flakes. Personally, I wanted to keep it real family friendly for my mild loving family. So I just did salt, pepper, garlic powder, and that was perfect for what, we sort of needed. But give it a taste, see what it needs. Be experimental, add some bits in there. Plus, we're adding that nice smoky sausage in there. Give that a stir. And there you go. It came together really fast, especially for a homemade sauce. And we're serving this over pasta. If you wanted to increase the fiber content, you could even swap this out for a chickpea pasta, and that would really bump up the fiber as well. But we just had that pasta, some left in a bag that, of course, we had to use up because that's the name of the game in January. Use what you got. I also had a little bit of fresh parsley in the refrigerator to use, so we added a little greenery on top. And there we go. This was so delicious, very filling, and nice and creamy.
All right, you guys, those were my bean/meat recipes. I hope you got some inspiration out of them. Obviously, this is just some basic ideas. You could really run wild with this, and I totally think you should. Add beans. Just do it. Let me know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment down below, and of course, come on back for more content like this, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!